Slow cooking pork over a hickory fire is a Southern tradition. And Birmingham, Alabama is known for the variety of mouth-watering meats and sauces available here. There are over 50 barbecue restaurants in the Birmingham area. Whether they have a single location or they're part of a chain, they're all institutions for the preservation of Southern culture.
It's only since really the mid-90s has there been any success at a chain barbecue restaurant. But because it's been so local, what I grew up on is right, everything else is wrong. And that, because of the demographic trends, because Alabama is the population growth, we've had a lot of people move in from around the country, they don't necessarily have where they grew up allegiances, and that's why you're starting to see chains, I think, start to succeed, is these become their favorite places and then they go back to those places.
Scott Walton knows a lot about barbecue. He helped compile the Heart of Dixie Glove Box Guide to Barbecue.
Family in Alabama barbecue is the story. That's what makes each place so wonderful, is you're not only associating yourself with a style of cooking and a sauce, but also what the family, their philosophy on sauce, their philosophy on cooking barbecue, and just like you would associate with a football team or a political candidate, you affiliate with that family.
So let's meet some of these families as we visit 9 of the finest barbecue restaurants in and around Birmingham. Bob Sykes Barbecue has been in business since 1957, when Bob stopped delivering bread and started a new career with his wife Maxine. Their son Van grew up in the family business.
My daddy grew up on a farm in western Tennessee, and when he was a kid they used to have pig pickings, and that's where he learned barbecue.
He built a pit out of block in the backyard, and he would get pork shoulders or something and cook it on the pit, and that's the way he started. This bread company he worked for, we knew that it was not going to last. It was going out. They were moving to New York, and we knew it was coming, so he said, we've got to do something, think about something else. So he said, why don't we think about a restaurant where me and you both work together? And I liked the idea very much.
As far as I know, my mother and daddy came up with the first drive-through window. And the way it happened, Daddy was talking one day in the store about, I wish I had a speaker system outside where people could talk and we could hear them inside. And there was an old guy that used to eat in there every day named Mr. Bell. Mr. Bell said, Bob, I can make that for you. I got a bunch of old radios and stuff. So 2 or 3 days later, Mr. Bell appears with this awful contraption that looked like World War II surplus radios, and he nailed it on the corner of the building. In the beginning, they would pull up, get out of the car, and walk over to the speaker and order, and Daddy and Mom would tell them, get back in your car and roll your window down. And they were like, oh, okay. You know what, though? People caught on to the idea. And as far as I could tell, at that point in time, we're talking about 1967, there was no drive. There was not a drive-through that I remember. McDonald's hadn't even considered a drive-through at that point.
Bob and Maxine were innovators in sales techniques, but their cooking techniques were based on methods passed down through generations.
The barbecue pit you see in the background there probably cooks about 1,200 or so pounds a day. And then on the big holidays, we get way up close to 2,000 pounds. When I was a kid, my daddy cooked whole shoulders. And a whole shoulder weighed about 10 to 12 pounds. Well, several years ago, the hogs got bigger and leaner. And so a whole shoulder became a huge piece of meat that you really couldn't cook up there. So most barbecue places started halving the shoulder and cooking the Boston butt, which is the butt end of the shoulder. We always felt like the barbecue was better if it had the bone and the skin on it while it cooked. So we chose to take the bottom half of the shoulder, which is called a picnic. And that bone makes that meat taste better. It makes it more tender. When the bone gets hot, it radiates the heat back out through the bone. And it actually has a tenderizing, flavoring effect of the meat.
You can be sure the Sykes family legacy will be carried on for years to come. Van's nephew, Jason, has also grown up in the family business.
I don't think that anything can be more, or to have a better job really than to be able to carry on what your grandfather and your uncle have laid the groundwork for and really created a life.
I'm in an organization called Southern Foodways, and it's a lot of people like me that are trying to preserve our Southern roots with our food. You know, if you want to learn about a society, if you study the food they eat, you'll learn a lot about that society. And I have, with a group of other restaurateurs and writers and cooks and chefs, and talking with them, you know, it made me realize what I'm doing is really important, because I'm trying to preserve a cooking process and a method that is transgenerational for years and years in the South. And so I sort of got a new charge out of what I'm doing by being involved in that group. And you know, today, sitting here, I'm probably more proud of what I do than I ever have been in my life, because I realize I'm not just pushing food over the counter, I'm touching people's lives.
Carlisle's Barbecue has been owned by two different families. The Carlisle brothers may have started it, but the Evans family has actually owned it longer.
Herman Carlisle started the barbecue business in '45, and he had it until 1974. And he sold it to my mother-in-law, Ms. Evans. So you've only had two families, basically, the Carlisles and the Evans family owned Carlisle's. And we are the oldest restaurant in Birmingham, the oldest family-owned restaurant in Birmingham.
The brothers that had it one of them was a gambler. And it was rumored that my husband won it in a poker game, but that wasn't true. My husband, we were here, had just moved back to Birmingham from Savannah, Georgia. And I was reading the want ads one morning, and it said Carlisle Barbecue for sale. And I told my husband it was for sale. And he asked Mr. Carlisle, said, do you want to sell this place? So he did. We bought it September of '74. And in January of '75, my husband goes back in the automobile business and moved to Columbus, Georgia to run the dealership and leaves me with the restaurant.
My dad bought it, and probably 6 months later he decided to go back into the car business. An opportunity came up in Columbus, Georgia, and he pretty much just left my mom with it. And so she'd had about 6 months training with him here. And Herman Carlisle stayed with her and worked for a while. And my mom had never worked before. So she pretty much just got left with it and did the best she could do. She did a great job.
When I first came here, a lot of mornings I'd start the fire, I'd put the meat on, I'd get the tea started and whatever needed to be done. Sweep the floors, mop the floors, whatever had to be done. If we didn't have anybody doing it that day, I'd do it. Wash dishes. So I've done a little bit of all that. I did everything but slice meat because I'm afraid of slicers. I don't do that.
Now, one thing you might notice right off at Carlisle's is that they have an awful lot of pictures on the wall. Well, that's because Joe Fuller likes to take pictures of people who eat their food.
We probably have the best mix, in all honesty, the best mix of any restaurant in town in terms of who comes here as far as a cross-section of America. And everybody's at home, and they all enjoy each other's company. Well, I love it. Once our barbecue when he comes to town. Always talks about our barbecue on the show. So last time he was in town, we fed his whole group back behind stage at the Alabama Theater. When John Ashcroft came to town a few years ago as Attorney General, we had to take barbecue and sauce out to his airplane. When President Bush came in 3 or 4 years ago, we had to take sauce and barbecue out to Air Force One. There are a lot of celebrities that come in here, and since they're in here, we go ahead and take a photograph of them. Celebrities from all over the state, senators, Supreme Court justices, congressmen.
If I have folks from out of the state coming in, I love to bring them here to a place like Carlisle's for a good taste of what Birmingham, Alabama is about. With the local, there's always somebody in there from the town that will speak to you, and it's just a great place to showcase Birmingham.
Just a good place. They're friendly. Get a huge portion, and just good barbecue.
It's easy to see why so many people have enjoyed Carlisle's food through the years. Carlisle's has definitely mastered the art of cooking Boston butts over a hickory fire.
It really is kind of a complex thing that there's no scientific way about it, but to get that fire just perfect so that you get the desired effect, which is a good crisp, almost burnt. If it were a steak, you would call it Kansas City style, so that you've got that nice burnt texture on the outside of the meat, and moist and juicy so that it's hot enough it seals the flavor inside the meat. You take a butt that weighs 7 or 8 pounds when you're putting it on there, and when you get through, you got about 3.5 pounds.
We do have 2 sauces. We have the regular sauce and the rib sauce. And the regular sauce is, from what I understand, different than most around here. It's more traditionally like a North Carolina barbecue sauce, I think, than the others. Most of them are ketchup based. And we do have that also, that we put on the ribs and the chicken.
The potato salad and the coleslaw and our sauces here have been unchanged since 1945, since the place opened.
Miss Evans is still behind the cash register at Carlisle's every day, even though she sold the restaurant to her daughter years ago.
I sold it to her so I could retire, but I just got more hours and less pay, so I didn't do too good selling. They think it'll keep me from getting old, so I guess that's good thinking, really. 'Cause I've enjoyed every minute of it. I guess that's why I'm still working.
There are several Costa's locations in Birmingham now, but when they started out here in 1981, folks wondered how they came up with the name Costa's.
Costa's was founded by Gus and Maria Canellis. Costa means Gus in Greek, and that's where they come up with the name Costa's. Gus kind of trained in different restaurants in the town, learned how to cook barbecue, then he added his own way of doing it, come up with their own seasonings and marinades, the way they wanted to do it to get the right flavor. They worked on it for years, and then he decided to open his own place. Him and Maria run it together for a long time, and it became a big hit.
Gus, Maria, and their daughter Christina now manage a couple of Mediterranean restaurants, but they left a Greek influence behind at Costa's.
There's a lot of Greek type seasonings used in all our food, to an extent. I mean, it's a unique flavor. It's kind of like the commercial with the beans and the dogs. Nobody knows. I mean, it's kept real secretly. We got some great cooks. I mean, they know how to do vegetables, and we do them every day.
We do the turnips, we do the collards, okra, green beans, potato salad, macaroni and cheese. But all our vegetables are made fresh every day.
People come through and they'll buy collard greens by the pint, turnip greens by the pint, just to take home to go with their meals. You know, and our mac and cheese, people love it. We'll cook anywhere from 5 to 7 pans of mac and cheese a day.
Costa's is known for a variety of foods, including their black Angus steaks. But they don't sacrifice the quality of their barbecue. These folks are serious about cooking Boston butts.
We season them all the way through. Granulated seasoning, powdered seasoning is put inside the meat. Then they're soaked in a marinade overnight.
We like to pit around 7 a.m. because it takes those pork butts an average 5.5 to 6 hours to cook. So I like to pit about 7:30, load the pit up with whatever I'm gonna cook for the day, and just keep close eye on it and get everything else done. After the meat has been marinated for 24 hours, I can cook up to 80 butts per day and 60 to 70 slabs per day. But we normally don't cook that heavy until Fridays and Saturdays and during most major holidays, Memorial Day, 4th of July. And our process here is slow cooked ribs, slow cooked pork butts. My pit is at a constant temperature of 375 degrees. No direct heat is touching my meat at all. As you can see, from time to time, you'll notice that I spray in between each line of the pit. So no water actually touch any of the meat. No fire touch any of the meat. We just using the heat from the hickory wood that we use and the smoke. That's how we cook our meat.
Most of the customers that come in, I've waited on them so long till I know what they're gonna order. So by the time they get to the table, I'm already there with what they drinking and well, what you get in your usual, and just go ring it up. But I mean, I've been here so long till they all know me, and I know most of them. I might not know them by name, but by faces, I know them when I see them.
There's a lot of, I guess you'd say, Greek influence in the whole operation. You get a big portion for your money. Never wanted anybody to leave hungry. If you leave hungry, you're a real big eater. That's all I can say. Just come see us. If you're not happy, we'll make you happy one way or the other.
The Full Moon Barbecue got a new lease on life when 2 enterprising brothers bought an irreplaceable treasure from a retired football coach turned barbecue master.
We went through the drive-thru and ate a couple times. Myself and my brother's already eaten here a couple times, I believe, and we just talked about it and we fell in love with the food. We've always been in the food business our whole life. I mean, and barbecue wasn't a route we were looking at going, because we were in the steakhouse business, the seafood business, and fast food, and barbecue happened to come up at the right time that we thought we did appreciate and went forward with it. We bought the business and all the assets that he had in this one location. As you can tell, it hasn't changed much. It's still original.
The Maloof brothers have established other Full Moon locations in Birmingham, and they're expanding beyond Alabama, but the original South Side location remains a testament to its founder, Pat James.
He was the best defensive line Coach Bear Bryant ever had. He's a great man. I mean, played football, coached football.
He loved the customers. He worked the front of the house. His wife, Eloise, was really the backbone of the business. She came up with a lot of the recipes and the cookies, the cakes, the desserts in general she came up with, and she ran the kitchen pretty much, and he ran the front of the house.
Well, Pat James had a lot of the sports memorabilia, and we when we bought the place, we reproduced a lot of them and gave him back some of the originals. And then through the years, you know, when we go out to these various things like Larry Zonka, Evander Holyfield, Joe Namath, you know, we also take pictures with them, and it's something that it can't be replaced, like the grill in the back.
It's well seasoned for almost 25 years now, over 25 years. So that can't be replaced.
When you put that meat on that pit every day, all it's doing is curing into that grate. And That's the reason why the meat, has such a great flavor. We just slow cook it to perfection. And I think that's what, makes us successful, is how good the pork is, the ribs, the chicken. Just get that golden brown look. We've expanded the menu also to all the other locations. We have salads and wings and baked potatoes and
more of a family
pies.
atmosphere.
Which here, we don't have any of that because we just don't have the room. It's real small and tight in the kitchen.
I've been coming here since the late 80s when Pat James opened it up and continued to do so, and it's just as good as what it was years ago.
It's a relaxed atmosphere. It's great barbecue. I look forward to it every day.
These folks have great desserts too, and they're made from recipes developed by Eloise James.
When you say full moon barbecue, you think of the signature half moon cookie. It's a fresh baked chocolate chip cookie made from scratch. And what she did was dip half of it in chocolate.
Thanksgiving, we'll sell close to 500 of her carrot cakes. That's another one of Eloise's, Pat's wife's recipes. I mean, that's what she's famous for. It's very moist, and
it's simple.
It's very simple. I mean, we use Gerber baby food to make it. That's one of her key ingredients.
I wouldn't trade this place for anything, and I'm not just saying that.
The original Full Moon is a small, cozy place. It's almost like going home for a meal with family.
Our employees been here since we bought the business, and they've been here 10 years prior before we even came here. So it's the original crew, and it's like they're home here.
If you come in and you want something special, like fresh cut, outside sliced or inside sliced, or pulled chicken, we take that time and do it exactly how they want it. But you go into a lot of restaurants, they don't give you that. They don't give, the owner doesn't come up to you and shake your hand or speak to you. You might be in the back of an office. We just give you that extra service. And that's what we're known for. We're famous for our friends and our food, and treat everybody like family.
There are original Golden Rule restaurants spread out all over Alabama, but the original Golden Rule is in Irondale.
It was 1891. A man named Will Avery started the Golden Rule. It was up on the hill over here. In the 30s, Miss Eileen Stone and her sister, Miss Elizabeth Williams, bought the business from him. And they continued up until 73 or 74 when Mike Matsis and Tommy Stevens bought it from them.
I was involved in the hotel and restaurant business downtown. I built the original Hyatt, which is now the Sheraton Convention Bureau. And then I had the Michael's restaurant. When Jabbo Stone first approached me, which was over 30 years ago, I kept telling him, no, I'm not interested. But I used to go out there and eat when it was across the street before the interstate came. Since he had no family, no children, finally I took it over.
It was a small, local barbecue joint. And at that time when the Stones were ready to get out, the original deal was to open 10 Golden Rule barbecues at that point. And that's how the franchise came about.
The history of the Golden Rule goes back to 1891. It used to be a wagon road here. In fact, it was known back then too that it was the last beer stop before you got to Leeds.
So it started out as a beer stop on an old wagon road, but the original Golden Rule has grown into a full-service restaurant today.
The main item here is the Boston Butt. It's a pork barbecue. That's been the staple here ever since the beginning. And then in the 80s, we added ribs and chicken. And of course we have baked beans, potato salad, coleslaw. The fries are cut daily. They're fresh. That's pretty much the main items here. Of course we offer beef and turkey also.
Our ribs, we season them overnight. And we load them up. I cook 48 slabs at a time. That's 4 cases of pork loin, baby ribs. And I have no timer or anything on them. I just automatically know when to come back and take them out the smoker. We cook 96 to 148 slabs of ribs a day. During the holiday, like 4th of July, we need to have like 600 slabs of ribs on hand that day. Our smoker, we burn hickory pit wood in it, and it has an electric gas ignition. And we top them off. Mike will take them up front and put them over the pit and get the charcoal flavor.
You smoke it halfway, then you finish it up on the barbecue pit, which is over charcoal. The smoker keeps the moisture in the product, and then we cook the fat out by cooking over the charcoal. We offer about 4 or 5 different sauces. Of course, there's the original sauce is what everybody really likes. That's the sauce that goes on all the sandwiches, the plates, or whatever. We also have the sweet sauce, which is a glaze that goes on the chicken and the ribs. And that's become very popular since we went into the chicken and ribs. And then when we went down to South Alabama to the Auburn and the Phoenix City stores, the people in that area liked the mustard-based sauce. So we had one developed, and that was the 3rd sauce that came out. And then we also offer the Michael's marinade that comes from Mike Mattis's old days at Michael's Steakhouse downtown.
The original Golden Rule has sports memorabilia all over the walls and really great food. They also have some mighty fine people working there.
My name is Bernice Kelly, and I've been here about 62 years. I started work here when I was right after I come out of school at Rosedale. I went to Miles a year, and I've been here ever since. I was about 19 when I started to work here. I live in this community, and it's real convenient. And really, I know just about what a lot of people want before they even sit down, and I start, waiting on them. Some of them stay in this community, some of them stay different places. But they always, come back.
I eat my own food. After a while, it's just like you're on dope or something. You can't do without it.
One of Birmingham's best-known Holy Smokes was started in 1953 by Johnny Ray. The Ray family has franchised the name, and there are several Johnny Ray's restaurants, but the oldest one is on Valley Avenue.
I think Mr. Ray was the pioneer of the premier barbecue places. He was the first in town to give an upscale barbecue. That's why this name has been so successful. We bought it from the Johnny Ray's family in the year of 1996, latter part of the year, and we bought it on a handshake. And money passed about 2 weeks later, but during that time I ran the place. Mr. Ray has, told me your word is your bond, and that's what he was. He was a very honorable man. John liked to laugh and cut up with the customers, and he knew he would get in the back and play the mandolin, and he would visit and sit down with people. And I learned that from him. I think that was one of his strong points, that he knew every customer that walked through the door, knew him by name or where they would come from, and had a hello for everybody. He helped us do some of the trials and errors the first couple of weeks, and then after that, it was my ball game.
Most folks call John Simonetti Pop, and this restaurant is a 3rd career for him.
I was retired for about 2 years, and being a people person, this store came available, and it was a challenge. And like, why do you climb a mountain? Because it's there. We feel like that when you serve a premier barbecue, you gotta have premier meats. Otherwise, one will go against the other. You can't be a premier barbecue place without premier meats. That's where it all starts from. And it's cooked slowly on the pit. My pit man been with me now going on 6 years. He's very conscious of what he has to do. He's very conscious of what people needs. And we cook daily. As the business turns, as the business approaches, holiday season comes, quite naturally we step it up. But we try to cook it on a normal, even keel, so that way we have nothing left over. Everything is cooked fresh daily. We make our Wednesday sauce like on Monday. Our Thursday sauce is made on Tuesday. We like for it to sit an extra day. It makes the sauce marinate a little better, because actually when you buy barbecue, the first thing you taste is the sauce. The meat comes second, but the sauce is what makes it. It really tastes better the next day than it does the first day.
This place has lots of great food.
Well, our baked potatoes has done well, our salads have done well. Our catfish, our hamburger steaks have been tremendously. Cheeseburgers and hamburgers, we make those fresh daily every day. We don't buy processed beef to make a cheeseburger or hamburger like some other locations do. We buy ours fresh daily, it's patted daily and fried in front of you.
Now there's one thing you might like to see that they don't make in front of you. You have to go back in the kitchen to see this. That's where they make the delicious banana and chocolate, lemon and coconut cream pies from recipes developed by Johnny Ray's wife, Honey.
They were originally by Honey Ray and they're all registered. We cannot give the formula out, even though we've had lots of people ask us for them, but we cannot give them out. The pies are the signature of Johnny Ray's. We're more synonymous for pies than we are anything else, even though we put out a Blue Ribbon barbecue now, don't misunderstand me. But our pies is our signature. When you were out in the streets and you say, well, where's a good place to get a piece of pie? And you automatically say Johnny Ray's.
So I brought my son here because he's never had the coconut cream pie yet. Decided to go for it. It's just something that melts in your mouth and just tastes so good. It's like addicting. It's incredibly delicious.
My brother, when we have family occasions, he will bring a Johnny Ray's pie to the family gathering, and everyone seems to really like it.
Going to Johnny Ray's is kind of like a family gathering. They treat you real good.
It's a family thing, and we have some customers like come every day. They don't eat barbecue every day, but they'll eat a grilled cheese, or they'll get a salad, or they get a cheeseburger, or something of that sort, or a barbecue sandwich. We have some come every day. We have some come 3 times a week. It's according, but it's like some of them say, it's like coming and seeing family, and we begin, after we know other customers, we talk to them, like the wives would talk to them, he says, makes me feel at home to have somebody talk back to me.
The story of Miss Myra's Pit Barbecue just shows you what can happen when a convenience store starts serving great barbecue. The barbecue just takes over the whole thing.
My husband was in the convenience store and self-serve gas business, and that's what this was. It had a little bitty pit and kitchen in the back, 2 booths, and it just grew more barbecue and less convenience store. We opened February 14th, 1985.
That's right, Miss Myra's opened on Valentine's Day, and there's lots to love here. They've got a fine collection of pigs and excellent food.
Before we opened, I barbered here in Cobb Heights. So when we had our grand opening, I took menus to my haircut customers. And before I got back, we had a line out the door. I think everybody here loves what they do. I think they love working here. Otherwise, they wouldn't be here, all these years. And the customers know we love them. It's not uncommon to step out from behind the register and hug and kiss somebody that's coming through the line. You know, there's people, like I said, that was my haircut customers that I've known 25 or 30 years that come in sometimes once a week, sometimes twice a week. Some of them come in and we just ring them up because they eat the same thing every time they come in.
Miss Myra's features barbecue chicken, beef, pork, ribs, and sausage. And the sides are made fresh daily.
Well, I've always cooked, you know. I'm the youngest of 10 children, so raised on a farm, we all cooked. Of course, the slaw recipe I've always liked, always used in my family. The beans I just kind of developed because we have to cook them on top of the stove instead of baking them in the oven.
People tell us if you could bag the smell, that would be wonderful. You smell bacon cooking, preparing the beans and the onion sauteing, and if the stew's cooking, you have your garlic and onions, and it just is such an aroma. And of course, the smoke itself has a wonderful smell. And just to hear the meat sizzling, you know, and when you poke it and the juices are running out, it's wonderful.
We cook the Boston butts on the smoker smoke them for about 6 hours, and then we wrap them and cook them another 6 hours. When you wrap them, it keeps the moisture in, and then we take all the fat out and the bone out before we serve it. We don't have the hard outside charred meat like you get over open pit barbecue. And we cook beef brisket basically the same way that we cook the pork. The ribs and the chicken and the sausage are all cooked on the open pit. We use all hickory wood, cook with all hickory wood. And we cook the chickens for about 2 hours and the ribs about 2.5. And we don't put any sauce on any of it. We cook all the meat and then you put your own sauce on, whatever you want.
We're regulars, I would guess, because we eat here probably once to twice a week, have been for quite some time. I like the smoked flavor. I don't really like it over a fire too much. This is that smoky flavor to it. They have a good sides, potato salad, green beans. I like the sauce. I think this is some of the best sauce I've ever tasted.
We have a red and a white sauce. White sauce I've never known to be any place except in North Alabama. But of course that's where we're from. We make it a little different than they do up there, but it's basically has the same basic recipe.
Ticket number 17.
Miss Myra's has friendly folks and great food. You'll definitely want to save some room for dessert. They've got a pound cake that is out of this world.
The pound cake is a real moist, just butter recipe pound cake. Mother had a bakery business also, and one of the employees that worked there had this recipe, and it was just a great recipe, and we've continued to make it after they left.
The pies, most of them have been in the family for many years, and the pudding.
People will say, you made that pie, or Myra made that pie. They know who makes what. They can tell the difference. Even though we do the same recipe, they'll go, you didn't make the pudding today. But we do it close, but I don't know what's different. The customers are funny. They'll say, you didn't make that, or Pearl will make a sandwich, and they'll say, Pearl didn't do that.
We all are family. A lot of us blood. I have my daughter, son-in-law, granddaughter, and sister that works here. And the rest of them are family by choice.
You don't have anybody telling you what to do or things like that. And it's really fun to have a family business. Or in my family it is.
How do I get it so good? Well, everything has a little pinch of love added to it.
The Tin Roof Barbecue is tucked away in the South Lake Village Shopping Center. If you don't know it's here, you might not notice it. But once you've found it, you'll want to come back again and again.
You have a wonderful neighborhoods behind us, and a lot of businesses over in the River Chase area. Obviously, the biggest obstacle here, everything's great except if you don't know we're here, you don't know we're here, and so you can overcome that in a couple of different ways. Myself and my partner chose to overcome it by just building the one customer at a time, just trying to do the best job we could with each person who came in here. I'm the co-owner myself, and another fellow own this business, or it owns us, we like to say. His name is Mo Fitzgerald.
Jeter and Mo have put together a fine little piece of barbecue heaven. The restaurant features blues music, lots of sports memorabilia, and hundreds of pig figurines.
It started just kind of as a way to lighten up a bland wall in here, and then it's grown into what we call over 1,000 pieces of pig memorabilia. We found early on that it helped, as they say, calm the savage beast. Crying children and children who were restless, we found by giving them a stuffed pig to play with, or a hard little pig to play with, that they seemed to quiet down a little bit. If they became real attached to it, we just gave it to them and let them take it home and just replace it with another. And I wasn't satisfied until I had every wall full. So we have I guess next to the Alabama Sports Hall of Fame, we have as close to a mini Hall of Fame of most every item up here is something from the state of Alabama. All the pictures of people are people that either played in Alabama, Auburn, went to school somewhere in the state, or from the state. So it's just dedicated to the state sports heroes and teams of the past.
Whether you're interested in pig skin or stuffed pigs, there's lots to look at in the Tin Roof Barbecue. But the biggest treat is the food.
We prepare all of our sauces, all of our salad dressings, all of our sides. We want to try to make this as close to home cooking as you can get without going to your house. We have the pork, beef, chicken, turkey, ribs, and then we have 5 different sauces. A tart, tangy, vinegary sauce. It's kind of a Carolina base. We have a southern spicy mustard that's like people like in South Carolina and Georgia. We have the traditional red like everyone's used to, and then we also have a white sauce. It's kind of an Alabama type thing. It's a mayonnaise-based sauce, and it's really, really popular. And then we have a brutally hot sauce. We don't recommend it to people unless you're really prepared for it. We use hickory wood and a big smoker to smoke pork shoulders. They cook for 19 hours, and when they're done, they're so tender that we can't chop the meat because it literally just falls apart, that we have to pull it to separate it and serve it like that. So when people ask for sliced meat, we can't accommodate them, not because we don't want to, but because we literally can't, because the meat is so tender it just falls apart. So that's how we prepare it. We offer other menu items such as burgers, salads, steaks, shrimp, crab claws, so that everyone can be included in the dinner.
It takes lots of work to run a restaurant like this, and it takes special people to do it this well.
It's a calling without the collar. You know, it's just like the preacher gets. You got to really want to do it. It's not easy. It's not like the burger place where you just light the grill up and throw the patties on there, or the chicken place where you heat. You have to really, every day, you have to dedicate yourself to doing the work that it takes to make it. As they say, if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. There in the barbecue. If you can sell barbecue in Birmingham for a long time, you can sell it pretty much anywhere. I'm referred to as the pig man. One of our customers' children refer to this as the naked pig place because of all the little stuffed pigs. So it sort of endears. Everybody loves a pig. Some people say, hey, everybody but the pig enjoys this place.
Holy smoke, look at that. Well, the last place we're going to visit is just a short drive north of Birmingham. but it is definitely worth the trip. You just take Interstate 65 to exit 287, follow Highway 31 towards Blunt Springs, and look for the smoke. And when you see it, you've found the Top Hat Barbecue.
When my father and mother purchased the business in 1967, it was called the Top Hat Inn, and they changed it to Top Hat Barbecue, but it's always been the Top Hat. The lady that my father purchased the business from was a great friend of ours. He sold tip-top bread, and he worked this restaurant as a bread man, and when she got ready to retire, she offered it to him, and he bought it from her, and then we've been here ever since. That was in 1967. We're in our third generation. Both my daughters, Heather and Roxanne, both have a large part in the business now. We're also in our third generation of customers. We have a lot of people who came here as children with their parents who come now and bring their children. I think the secret is being consistent with your roots. We haven't changed anything since we began in 1967. If you came here 20 years ago and got a barbecue sandwich, came back today, it'd taste just like the one you got 20 years ago.
Now, Dale Pettit's dad and Bob Sykes worked together delivering bread. But when the bread company went out of business, they both started chopping wood and smoking meat.
Our older customers are constantly bringing people in that they've never been here before, and they always want to bring them in the back and show them the pits, and we're always happy to open them up and let them see the meat cooking and stuff like that. Barbecue, to be done right, must be done over a natural hickory fire. You can't produce good barbecue in any kind of a rotisserie or an oven. And it takes a lot of time, it's a lot of work. You have to prepare all the wood, you have to split it, that sort of thing. But the only way to produce really good barbecue is over a natural hickory fire. And the entire process is about 12 hours. Actual cooking time is 9 to 9.5. By the time you get the fire started and you get the meat on and get it cooked, it takes about 12 hours. We start at 5 in the morning, get done about 5 in the afternoon. The secret is regulating the fire. Keeping your fire consistent. Starts out hot in the morning. As the day goes by, you let it cool down as the meat begins to get done. And then toward the afternoon, you let it slow down still and let it really get tender then. And you never take it off till it's tender. The meat gets done a long time before it gets tender, but we keep ours on till it gets tender. And we never take one off until it's ready. The fire takes constant attention. You have to be with it constantly from the time you start till it's over. The shoulders obviously are different sizes. You have to remember where the larger ones are and where the smaller ones are. Where the larger ones, obviously, you need more fire. So you, in some parts of the pit, you'll have it a little hotter, and then where the smaller ones are, you'll keep that fire down, and you never let it blaze. Always just keep the coals burning. You never want to blaze in there at all. Just keep the coals going and slow. The secret is slow. You have to cook it slow.
It gets mighty hot in the pit room, where they can cook up to 88 Boston butts at a time. But Dale makes sure the sauce doesn't get too hot. It needs to simmer for a couple of hours, but he doesn't want it to boil.
Well, the sauce is our own recipe. The original recipe, oddly enough, came from the Waldorf Astoria Hotel in New York City. Now, we've tweaked it some since those days. We've added some ingredients to it to make it our own, but the secret to barbecue sauce is that it should stand on its own. And it should complement the meat, not be just something to cover it up. And we sell it. People take it home to use in their own barbecue pits. And people use it here. They want a cup on the side to dip chicken fingers in or French fries or something like that, which I think is one of the keys. The sauce will stand by itself and the barbecue will stand by itself. A lot of people eat the barbecue without sauce simply because they love the way the smoke gives it the flavor. So the two things will stand by themselves, but and then when you combine them, I think you have something really special. Takes about 2 hours. Just let it simmer real slow. Let the ingredients combine and not break down and boil, but just combine. We use only the finest products. Our meat is cut to our specifications by Hormel. We buy the finest products we can get. Our catfish, we use only an Alabama catfish. We feel that they're the best. We try to deal with all Alabama businesses as much as possible. Keep our money here at home. Our service has always been a trademark.
Yes, sir. Got the ribs and goldfish.
A lot of our business comes out of North Birmingham, Gardendale area, in that area. But there's a lot of people that live around here. You just don't see them going up and down 31 here. But you get off on these side roads, there's a lot of people that live around here that have been our customers for years and years. For the last 30 years, we've been working 7 days a week. A lot of those were 16-hour days. A short day now is 10, and it's just a lifestyle. You have to dedicate yourself to it. I enjoy it. I love it. I wouldn't want to do anything else.
Well, that just about wraps up our tour of some of the top barbecue restaurants in Birmingham, Alabama. Along the way, we've met some interesting people and learned a lot about the fine Southern tradition of barbecue. There are lots of great barbecue restaurants in the Birmingham area. We couldn't visit all of them this time, but maybe we'll get together to do this again sometime. Until then, one thing's for sure, folks in and around Birmingham are real lucky because they have fine restaurants that preserve Southern traditions and serve delicious food.
Barbecue cuts race, class, neighborhood, you name it. Barbecue cuts all of that out and makes us all neighbors. And you know, in the South, barbecue's always been associated with politics. Whenever a politician wanted to get elected, he always had a barbecue.
When you look at football, politics, religion, all those things bring out community. And you can have different opinions about football, you can have different opinions about religion, you can have different opinions about your politics, but the barbecue seems to be the way to get the people together.
I don't care how small the town in Alabama you go to or how big, you're going to find barbecue as a dominant factor. Birmingham's a prime example of that.
I think it's pretty much a mecca for barbecue, especially the pork variety. We have one store here, but there are a lot of people that have good products and they succeed, and then there are people whose products are either subpar or they're just not prepared for the business environment, and they don't succeed.
The secret to being a success in the restaurant business is keeping your food consistent, using the very highest quality products you can buy. Don't skimp on anything, even down to the condiments. Buy all name brands. If you skimp on the quality of your ingredients, the quality of your food will suffer. So use the best ingredients you can buy, handle it the very best way you know how. Never serve anybody anything to eat that you wouldn't be glad to eat yourself.
You know, North Carolina and that Atlantic South region up there, their barbecue is different. And Memphis has their own type of style, and the barbecue that you find in Alabama is more closely resembling the Memphis style of it. And although Memphis is kind of known for it, they've done a good PR working on the barbecue market. It seems that I know from the time I've spent in Memphis that there's certainly, I think, in quantity and quality, that we have better barbecue in this state.